In this video, I'm going to tell you how to harden seedlings before you permanently move them outdoors. So these seedlings, they're a combination of some pepper plants, and in the middle here you got tomato plants. They're about 6 weeks since sprouting. So it usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks before they're ready to be transplanted outdoors. But a good rule of thumb is they should have 3 to 4 sets of true leaves. So true leaves meaning ignore this first one here, which is the cotyledon, but then you have 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets there. So they pass the test. Similarly over here, 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets. And then even here, these big tomato plants, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus, I think the way they're drooping, they're starting to get big enough that this light is not giving them enough of the the light nutrients they need. So I think it's good to get them outside. So you can't move these guys outdoors just in one fell swoop because they're used to this very calm, nice atmosphere where there's a gentle, light, no breeze. There's not a lot of temperature change. So you gotta get them used to that a little bit at a time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our plants, get a door right here to go onto my porch. You wanna put them somewhere where it's in direct sunlight. They'll get maybe some direct sunlight, but especially the first day, we're just gonna leave these out here about an hour or so. And we're gonna keep an eye on them because what's gonna happen is if they're out here too long, they're really gonna start to wilt and droop, especially if they're getting a lot of direct sunlight. So as you can see, they're getting a little bit of sunlight, but we kind of position them where the sun's gonna be behind that tree for another hour or so. So I'll show you what these things look like in an hour, then we're gonna bring them back in. Then tomorrow, we're gonna put them out for 2 hours, the next day 3 hours, and so on. Usually by the end of about 7 days, they're ready to go outside permanently. You can usually tell when they're ready to go outside permanently because they're lasting 7 to 8 hours, even with direct sunlight, and holding up, strong without wilting. So now we're checking back in. It's been about an hour and a half. You can see there our sun's come up above that tree. These guys are starting to get some full sunlight. Now, in general, they look pretty good. Like, they're still pretty perky here. A lot of times what you'll see is they'll start to get fatigued and really start to droop. The tomato plants are drooping a little bit, but they were already doing that some because I think they actually need a little more light. But we don't want to push it on the first day, so we should be happy with an hour and a half. I'm going to bring these back in, and then we're going to do it again tomorrow for more like 2 to 2.5 hours. Okay, so this is day 3 of hardening. We're at about 3.5 hours here. Now what you'll see is these are in the shade underneath my umbrella. At about an hour and a half, some of these leaves, particularly over here, were starting to droop a fair bit. So, one of the tips, you can see these tomato plants are starting to droop a little. One of the tips too is if it's especially hot out, you can still keep them outside longer, but a lot of times the sun really starts to get to them, so just put them in the shade. But in general, these are looking pretty good now. They've been in the shade for a bit. They're staying perky, recovering, so we're gonna keep doing this up to about day 7. Hopefully maximizing them in about 7 to 8 hours outside. We continue this process on day 4, going to about 4 hours. Then days 5, 6, and 7, we continue to increase that time up to about 7 to 8 hours, where they looked healthy, after being outside that long. So we knew it was time that we're ready to transplant them. Here you can see a shot of what they look like transplanted. Now that's the next step. So if you want to understand how to do that, just click the link to the video on the end of the screen here, and we'll show you how to do that. Thanks, and happy planting.